Mm, Twitch. How do I get to know if I'm live or not? Twitch TV. Twitch TV. Channel. Channel. Yes, I am live. Okay. I have no idea. This is awkward. All right. What am I doing today? Hi, Rehan. Since nobody else is watching this, hopefully. Okay, let's just check how am I going to get the Twitch chat here. I mean, we can do that later. Let's do that later. All right. I am streaming because I'm not able to keep my attention at one place. So, because I was fidgeting, I thought that this would be a good way to try to learn something and to keep my attention here. As you can see, I'm getting distracted already, and I am going to close my phone's notifications, otherwise I'll keep this getting distracted. Okay, so I went on to, okay, what am I doing? I'm trying to get my init, like the initial action of learning how editors are made online. So Dropbox paper, Google Docs, Notion, and everything. And I have a very weird thing. So on Smashing Magazine, if you go to the couple of articles that I wrote a long while ago, and if you see uh, my my description here, it says that I am a text editor fanatic, which is true in terms of liking the text editors a lot, but I don't know anything about how they are made. The closest that I came to using a text editor was Draft.js back when it was released. And since it's sort of like a legacy software now, which is buggy, doesn't work on Android and everything, um, I just want to make this statement that I've made about myself true in a tech sense. And I thought, okay, why not? So I got a, I went to Keystone JS to try to see if it would solve a use case and a problem that we have at work. And I still haven't started to see it properly. But what I saw was that they were using Slate as their rich text editor. And I was like, oh, okay. Up from the top of my head, I knew that there's also called something called lexical.dev, which is sort of like a successor of Draft.js, made by Facebook, open source, and everything. And I have no idea about what about the technicalities about it. So, like a layman that I am right now, I just Googled lexical versus Slate, and I clicked on this Y Combinator link, and I read some interesting things about from the user JITL, uh, just Jake. He works in Notion. He rebuilt the Notion editor core, and I was just I got my first starting point to be able to get into and understand how people are making online editors which work on Android and with Chinese, Japanese, and Korean characters and languages. And he glanced over some gave very nice sort of entry points into which anybody could go and see and just start reading a little bit. So I guess at some point of time I'm going to go into one of the open source frameworks for building editors like Prose Mirror. And Jake here has also said somewhere, I think, that Prose Mirror might be a good starting point. Let me see. It's Prose. Uh, Let me see. Let me see. He had written something somewhere. I think Frozener is the best choice today because it has been around for a long time and has battle tested mutation observer logic. I'm not sure if works properly on Android and with this. I didn't even know that this problem existed before I read these comments here. I'm just going to, whenever this video is going to go on YouTube, I am going to paste these links there. Let me just quickly open the sticky notes. Okay, not these. Oh, all right. So this is a cool thing that the Arc browser has, and I haven't tried it yet. Let's close this. Okay, what do I want? I want a new easel. I don't know what easel is. Let's go with Node. Links to share on YouTube video of first live Twitch stream. Yay! And I'm just going to start. It will be interesting to know what these people are using, but I'm not able to inspect here because this is a browser. Maybe is is Arc open sourced? Arc GitHub. Mhm. This is some other Arc and Arc. Oh, the browser company. Browser companies. Arc browser. I saw it in Google somewhere. Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, let's just go back to where we want to do things, and I'm just gonna go and pee real quickly. I'm back again, and let's okay, why? All right, let's go back and okay. So this was my entry point, and I saw this article by Medium Engineering that he had posted here. So I started reading it and I thought that, and that is when I started getting distracted. And it's funny how talking to oneself and myself is just able to keep me like keep me engaged in doing whatever I'm doing. So let's just go ahead and then just start reading this. I had actually started reading this, so I'm going to summarize for myself so that I know that I've learned what it has said up until now. This is also a good English speaking practice. Okay. Why have I highlighted this? What? This is a top highlight? Really? Okay, never mind. Why content editable is terrible? What Nick has done here is given three axioms by thinking himself about what makes an editor a good editor. So the three axioms that he has pitched are, and he has also said that the way to these are not these are basically just the bare minimum. These are not even facts. These are just some things that he thinks are true to be able to evaluate any editor. And if and when any of these fails, then we can tell or see. I mean, we can say that that particular axiom was wrong. But since he has worked on his team, maybe has worked on the Medium editor already, he would have given these from his extensive browser knowledge and making the editor and the content editable knowledge that he has. So what does these say? The mapping between DOM content and visible content should be well behaved. The mapping between DOM selection and visible selection should be well behaved. All visual edits should map onto an algebraically closed and complete set of visible content. And he goes, I think, in each of them one by one. So let's start by reading from here. I've already read from here, but I think it'll be good for me to be able to read it again. DOM space is the set of all web pages that express in HTML. Correct? All the pages can be represented as tree of elements with text nodes as the leaves of those trees. Understood? Visible space, what you see is what you get, is set of visible pages. What you actually see on the screen on the browser rendering page, right? We say the two pages are the same in the visible space, they look exactly the same. True. The browser's rendering engine is a mapping between DOM space onto the visible space. By onto, we mean that all the visible pages are the output of a render of X for some DOM X tree. Correct. So something like he has already made this, um, and I think just for the heck of it, I'm just going to draw this. Um, this is the browser rendering engine. Browser rendering engine, and we have some particular X. This X is a particular version of DOM tree, and when it goes into the boundary browser rendering engine, it gives us a particular visibility, how the things look. So maybe there's a header and everything. There's some main section, maybe, and maybe a footer and whatnot. Never mind. So this is something that he's saying that this is what he means by what did it go? Here, by this. When we say mapping is well behaved in editor, and he has used this well behaved word here. Okay, well behaved. Sangha. My first language, it just starts slipping through. That is what I sort of like, not like about English language is that it tends to be very restrictive. And I've also started not liking the fact that I've started thinking in English sometimes. I want to think in my native language also, and also get good at it. It's strange I haven't read properly my first language in more than a decade properly. Anyway, that was an aside. Okay, Aryan, focus. What were we? See, this is what happens. This is how I get distracted in interconnected thoughts that keep popping up. Visible space is the set of visible pages, or we say the two pages are similar if they look exactly the same. This is also a weird and again that happened. When we say a mapping is well behaved in an editor, we mean that the mapping preserves all edit operations. See footnote one. What is the footnote one? If you're taken high level undergraduate maths, which I have, but I don't remember at all, a well behaved mapping is a morphism. Okay. Operational structured map from one mathematical structure to another. Okay, we won't go into it right now. That word feels clunky and carries the additional baggage that doesn't help us here. So we used well behaved. All right, thank you. Thank you. I forgot the name of the person. Nick. Uh, to to make to have made it easy to understand. And very nice, but not Kahanga. More precisely, if render is well defined, then for all edit operations, E is an edit operation in the DOM on DOM and DOM pages X and Y. So if we are rendering X and then this is basically the visibility that we have. Like what gets shown, this is the representation of it. So this is visible, what is visible 1 versus equal to what is visible 2. If these two are same for maybe two speculatively different DOM trees, X and Y, then this implies that any operation done on the DOM tree X and then rendering it Whatever comes out of that operation, this editing operation, and then rendering it, the visibility, the thing that gets visible to the user will be exactly the same as if the edit is made on geometry Y and then when it is rendered. Okay, makes sense. This is a way of formalizing what you get part of what you see. What you see is what you get. What you see is what you get with the big editor, like the very famous abbreviation that we all have. So this is what it is saying. If two pages look the same and we make the same edit on them, then the two results should look the same. Correct. I have been surprised how many specific editors on the web break this rule. Okay. It may sound like an obvious principle, but it leads into weird existential, existential questions about what sane means, which are best explored with examples. All right. Okay. Well behaved content. Consider a sample sentence. Okay. This is a sentence. We have an underline and a bold in italics. The medium editor renders this sentence as roughly below. Okay. Okay, no, this is not a underline, this is a link. So a link is there, blah, 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 strong and M for bold and italics. There are many ways to encode the last word back in as both italicized and bold. Like strong can come first, then M can come first, strong later, M can, okay, M strong, and then bag, okay, only the bag strong, and then the ins is done strong and sorry, okay, so ins part of backends is under a separate strong, just to show as an example, and similar thing that he has done again with strong. Okay, the whole part of the bag is encapsulated in this particular thing, which is making it strong and italicized, and the same thing for the latter part in. These forms should be equivalent editor-wise because it visibly shows the same thing. Any edits you make to this post need to treat all these forms the same, correct? Anything if any edits are made, all of these forms should be same because of this thing that we just saw. That now all of these different cases are different x and y's. So this might be x, y, z, or maybe an a. And any of the edits made on those when rendered should have the same visible experience. It is surprisingly tricky to write an edit action that knows about all the different forms, DOM forms. Okay, makes sense. For many content editable implementations on the web, some invisible character or empty span tag may slip into the HTML so that two content editable elements behave totally different, even though they look the same. Oh, okay. The experience can be maddening to the users and hard for engineers to deal with. So just saying that with the same content editable element, some of the implementations of editors in the web, what happens because of them is having the same kind of content might add an empty DAG or do some weird things with it, even though the content editable elements will start behaving totally differently, even though they look the same, because the output of the uh, uh, what am I saying? All right, for the same content, the HTML created is different. Okay, and even though they look the same, content editable elements will behave differently from there on. Understood? The experience can be manipulated. Even if we knew how to write an edit action that is well prepared, how would we check it? If we limit our HTML to simple tags, proving that two forms are visually equivalent is complicated. The best bet is to iterate through each letter assigned in it, assign it a style and compare the results. This is the first time that I'm reading here a point of view of testing. For example, the catching up of this kind of bug, how do we detect this? So he's saying that it is complicated. The best bet is that if we iterate through each of the letter that we are writing in the editor, we assign each of the tags or something like that a style, and then compare the results of how it looks. which seems complicated even in trying to think about it. In an ideal world, we would have a high-level API for making visual edits to the DOM. Each operation will guarantee that it is well behaved and does the same thing for all visually equivalent pages. Then as long as your editor only use huh? then as long as your editor only use these APIs, you could guarantee that it is well behaved. Okay? Okay. So let's see if these APIs exist or not. It doesn't tend to be. Well behaved selections. Well behaved selections. The mapping between DOM and visible content is ugly already, but at least it's one many to one. One DOM representation has exactly one visible representation. Correct. Selections are worse because the mapping is many to many. I don't understand that, but let's see. It's easy enough to see that one visible selection can have many DOM representations. Okay. If you have an HTML like this, then the cursor before backends here can be in one of the three DOM positions before the start, strong start tag, yeah, पे, between the strong tag and the M tag, and after the M tag. Correct. If you place your cursor before backends and start typing, will your characters be bold or italicized or neither? Makes sense? If in a visual editor, if we are behind backends, then what will be the behavior of the character that is being written or typed? More subtly, one DOM selection can have multiple visual representations. Consider the case where well-to-do breaks after two as the image above. Right? Consider the case where well-to-do, okay, well-to-do here after the two as in the image. Okay, okay. He's asking us to consider this. A cursor at the end of the first line and the beginning of the second line have the same down position, but different visual position. Ooh, okay, let's highlight this. Am I logged in? Oh, I am not. Let's copy this, open it in Arc. Also copy this in the. Where did that? Other? Where did that links? Okay, this is. Cursor at the end. This is a very valid point. That if my cursor is here somewhere, and also if it is here, it has the same mathematical position. That is, it is after the hyphen, this hyphen, but it has two different visual positions. One is at the end of the first, second is the start of the second. As far as I know, there is no way to tell the browser to prefer one visual position over the other. Okay. When designing editor commands, we want selections that look the same to behave the same. But because the mapping is messy, this is a pain too. Okay, there are some details that seem to have been omitted here because those are implementation details. Might be closed and complete edits. We are just going to take away that the mapping of the selections that look the same to behave in the same way. This mapping is messy. Okay. Closed and completed edits. One day, a couple of years ago, my friend Julie sent me a chit message. We can remove Apple style span. Oh, happy day. What is that? Apple style span. Okay, there's a very uh, the first result is itself that, and I had also seen this mentioned in this Y Combinator by Jake, that Notion person, super smart person, Apple style span. No, he might have mentioned it somewhere else. Never mind. Let's go back to here. Ryuki Niva wrote a lovely, I think this is the same link. Yeah, this is it. We'll read it later, but let's keep going for now. About the quest to remove Apple style spam. I don't know what this is. If you have read this far, many of the issues he raised will sound familiar. WebKit's content editable editor was adding loads of bookkeeping HTML markup that didn't change anything visually. Oh, okay. Like maybe HR tags or I don't know, extra span tags or div tags or something like that. But made the editor behave differently. Okay. So the markup that was being added by because in the content editable in WebKit, Safari added a lot of bookkeeping HTML markup, extra markup, which didn't change anything visually, but it made the editor behave differently. Okay, similar kind of thing that he had said for some of the behaviors of the editors itself that are written in JavaScript, which have this property that the markup gets added, some extra markup gets added, which hinders with how the editor behaves, even though it is visually the same, the rendering of that HTML. Okay. He also points he also points out that the web hits. Okay, let me put the light on. It'll be a little bright. He also points that the WebKit's content editable implementation has to be able to deal with HTML created by any other CMS. WebKit content editable has to deal with HTML created by any other CMS, okay? Or any other browser's content editable implementation. Huh. Okay. Our editor should be a good citizen in this ecosystem. That means we ought to produce HTML that's easy to read and understand. Okay. And on the flip side, we need to be aware that our editor has to deal with pasted content that cannot possibly be created in our editor. And on the flip side, if we are copy pasting some content from some other website, some other CMS, which has created the HTML differently, we need to be aware that our editor has to deal with the pasted content that cannot possibly be created in our editor. Okay? The HTML that gets getting pasted, there is no way for our editor to create it in any manner, but we have to deal with it because user is copying it from somewhere. I've seen class of bugs where the only way to produce is to write text in Firefox. Switch to Chrome to make an edit, and switch back to Firefox. This is frustrating both for developers and users. One, I've seen classes of bugs where the only way to reproduce is to write text in Firefox in the editor, switch to Chrome to make an edit. Okay, he's I think talking about the pasted content to write the text. I think that he has written write. I don't know. Maybe the pasting operation is also right. Is what he's mentioning. Let's assume that text is in Firefox. Switch to Chrome to make an edit, okay, and then switch back to Firefox. This is frustrating for both developers and users. Okay. To avoid this class of bugs, we say that the contents of a good WYSIWYG editor should be algebraically closed under its edits. Contents of them should be algebraically closed under its edits. Okay, I am able to understand what he's saying, but I'm not able to explain it. We could say that WYSIWYGs, what you see is what you get. The responsibility that we owe in making such an editor is that the contents of a good WYSIWYG editor should be algebraically closed under its edits. I don't understand this. I thought I did. Okay, he's written. This means that the contents of the editor should always be something that I could create by typing normally. Okay. This means that the contents of the editor should always be something I could create by typing normally. Okay, all right. It seems to be the similar thing that I was thinking about. As less HTML as possible and keeping it close to how it would originally get created if I would just have type normally. Maybe say in a markdown fashion where every bold and italics is very explicit. I should be able to break out into the different types of documents by pasting some HTML in or editing in another browser. Okay, I should be able to break out into different types of stuff. Okay. A framework for good visibility. A bare content editable element is a bad visibility because it breaks all of these axioms. Acha. So how would we build a good visibility editor? For medium editor, there are four key pieces. Create a model of the document with simple way to tell if two models are visually equivalent. Okay, the content is what I think is being referred to as model. Create a model of the content with a simple way to tell. Model is created in such a manner of the content that there is a simple way to tell if two models are visually equivalent. So instead of having to do um, editor to HTML conversion, maybe one could do an editor to a JavaScript object. What do you say? Conversion, and that would be the model. And if two are visually equivalent, their JSONs would be equivalent as well, something like that. Maybe create a mapping between DOM and a model, right? This is what GraphJS had also originally tried. I don't know if they were successful because I've not followed or used it a lot, but yeah, this seems to be like this. That what? Okay. Let's open TLDraw for a change. Not dev, but com. So it is saying that we have this. I can copy this. I'm not able to. From our editor, we create a mapping to our model, which should most likely be a JSON model. And this JSON model, any of the two JSON models, say there is one J1 and there is one J2, if they are visually equivalent, it means that their models will actually be, we will be able to, or we can say that it means that implies that we would be able to see the models and infer this and and can confirm that they are visually equivalent. In simplest of form, it could be that the JSONs are same, or there might be a subset of that with some bound rules. This can be considered as then be visually equivalent, something like that. And then, as you're saying, define a create a mapping between DOM and our model. Create a mapping between oops, I did not want that. A mapping between our JSON and DOM so that we can convert this model into representation of DOM. Go ahead, let's go ahead. Define well-behaved edit operations on the model. Understood. Translate all key presses and mouse clicks into a sequence of these operations. All right. If we split it in the view, oops, and fourth and fifth are saying well-behaved editing operations on the map. So something like if something has to be changed in it, how could it be that there might be a series of um, suppose we need this. What is happening here? Okay, I need. Was there a sequence of events coming in? These are these key presses and mouse clicks. So suppose this is key press one, this is mouse press one, this is key press two, this is mouse press two, and into sequence of these operations, these are the operations, and the way that these will edit the model. Um, the model we can maybe call it a state. Let's use another edit. All of these are edit operations, and one after the other, it will apply in such a way that they're well-behaved edit operations. I won't go into the definition of this because I think he has done better job in explaining it. I understood it, and then let's move ahead. I'll walk you I'll walk you briefly through each of these pieces and how we make changes to them. At the end, I'll discuss how browser engineers are making content editable better and may make some of these components obsolete. Understood. We are going to read a new section from here. Let's see how long it is. A little bit more. Let me fill my water bottle. In the wake of being a little healthy, I'm just going to stand for a bit. The editor, medium editor, has two fields, a list of paragraphs and a list of sections. Okay, list of paragraphs and list of sections. Maybe this is a section. Each paragraph contains, okay, each paragraph contains text, a string of plain text, markups, a list of formatting text ranges like bold from character 1 to 5, metadata for images or embeds, layout, a description of how we should position the paragraph. All right, four different things. One is content, other is uh, text ranges for how this content has to be styled. And there are some metadata, and then there's some layout information as to how each of the paragraph has to be um, positioned. So maybe there might be three different kinds of paragraphs. One might be, I don't know if I'm thinking it right, but never mind. Okay. A section describes a background for a sublist of paragraphs. All right. So he's saying something like all of these things are what is in the paragraph, and every and all the, and one section has describes a background for a sublist of paragraphs. Section is a list of sublist of paragraphs. All right. Any section selection in Medium Editor expressed as 2 points. Each point is a paragraph index and the text offset into that paragraph. Okay. Each point is a paragraph index. Okay. Which paragraph it is and the text offset into that paragraph. Okay. So suppose this is the section. It is a collection of paragraphs. One, two, three, four, five, six, maybe. And so if I'm selecting one, two, three. I'm considering list as a paragraph. Um, four, five. Fifth paragraph, and then the offset text offset into the paragraph. So if I do this, my offset from would be I think four, because four characters are selected, including the white space. We have most selections are text type selections, correct? This is the text type selection. We also have media type selection when the tooltip is on the image. Is there an image here? No. Let's try to find out. Uh, Tooltip on an image. This is what it is saying. No? Okay, I have to pee again. I'll be back. So all okay. No, where was I? Ah, okay. We have also media type selections when a tooltip is on the image. I'm not able to imagine why a tooltip would be on an image. Um, need to be able to find a medium post which has an an image in between. Okay, thank you, whatever, whoever are following me. I don't know why I haven't written on Medium for a while. Okay, let me see my profile. Let me see if I have something here. This seems to be. If I edit it, no, I don't know why I did. How do I go back? Okay, I went back. How do I edit this? Edit the story. Next.js logo. From this, uh, I'm not able to select. I am not able to understand what this is. Okay, let's go ahead. Anyway, we have also have a media type selections when the tooltip is on the image. Okay, and the section type selections and section type selections. When the tooltip is on the section background, tooltip is on the section background. Uh, Media type selection. Not able to understand. But anyway, the advantage of this model is that two models have the same visual rendering if and only if models are equal. Okay. Any change to the model translates to a well-defined visual change. Okay. One-on-one mapping. The medium editor mapping. Next, we define a mapping from DOM space to the model space. Okay. We break this into two separate cases, indoor mapping and outer mapping. And indoor mapping is when we take content inside the editor and translate it back and forth between DOM and the model. And we expect an indoor mapping to be one-on-one. Okay. Translate it back and forth between DOM and model. Back and forth. Okay. Back and forth. Something like this. Okay. Translate it back and forth between DOM and model. We take content inside the editor and we translate it back and forth between DOM and model. Okay. We expect an indoor mapping to be one-on-one mapping. An outdoor mapping is when we have HTML from outside the editor, for example, from pasting, I think. Like when the user pastes HTML from Word into a Medium post, we need to translate it into our paragraphs and section models, right? Translate it into our. We expect outdoor mapping to be lossy. There might be some, of course. If there are some things that we don't understand, we need to chop them off. We prioritize plain text first, and then bold italics, link, markup, then images, and any other miscellaneous formatting. Okay. When we map our model to DOM, the DOM tree looks like root, section, section inner, layout column, section, section inner, paragraph. Okay, let's try to let's try to see what this is a it let's see a section somewhere. Maybe things have changed since then. Section, okay, a big section about maybe these can be. This is a paragraph. This whole thing is a big div. All these are paragraphs, selectable data, selectable paragraph. Things might have changed since this is an old post. Okay, never mind. The section node is generated from section model and applies background images or colors to a list of paragraphs. Right. Okay. The section inner node, this one, is generated from the paragraph's layout property, from this paragraph's layout property, and determines the width of the main column. Determines the width of the main column. Okay. On most paragraphs, it's narrow and centered. On full width image paragraphs, it's 100%. Okay. Okay. So, so everything is a paragraph. Paragraph is sort of like a section inside of a section. That's why they're calling it an image paragraph, which is a full width image, is basically what they're saying. On a full width image paragraph, it's not 100%. Right. On a row grid, it's halfway outside. The next node is the semantic type of paragraph. P H2ST3 figure blah 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 blah. Okay. Next node semantic is inside of the paragraph. All of these. When we translate markup ranges into DOM nodes, markup ranges into DOM nodes, we sort them by A, then strong, then M. We will never print a strong tag containing an anchor tag. Oh, okay. When we break it up so that the anchor contains a strong tag. Okay. Never strong. Strong will never be a parent of an anchor. It's interesting to try to think how they're doing it. What will be the data structure of their models? Um, I have no way to even begin to think about how they might be doing this. Like their model, maybe they have defined something somewhere. No, I think. Never mind. Um, So this is what they're doing. The next first is the section. Section does the background images and colors and things. Then the inner section gets all the um, styles that the inner, like the paragraph inside of it, is going to should have. Uh, elements and okay, never mind. It's generated from the paragraph's layout property. Okay, I'm still confusing the intent of what he has written as paragraph in the subcontext of this post versus this paragraph. So never mind. From the paragraph's layout property, okay, layout property, and determines the width of the column. For images, they're 100% for whatever. Uh, Next level of nodes that are inside, they get. And then we translate, when they translate these markup ranges into, no, so I am, let's just try to see what might have, how this markup might look like. I don't know if there are sections. Okay, I have to left align this. How do I left align? Each section will might have a paragraph, like a paragraph section. Let's write it as maybe P1 and each of the paragraphs. Sorry, this cannot be an array because it might have some maybe background information. Sorry, never mind. Um, Something like this. Each section will have some background image. Um, other and and then some paragraphs which would be say, let's see, let's write it as content, and it will be a list of what they have termed as paragraph. So say if this is of the type of full width image, then they would translate it as such. Uh, this might be maybe a textual paragraph with some things like text, then they would need some something. What would they be? Um, I don't know. Sub things, maybe sub content. That might be a list again. And inside of that, what would be all of these things? Maybe tag. Let's see that strong while I think of it. Tag strong. I don't know. This is where I'm struggling a little bit because I'm not able to make the the shape of the content that they would they would have in order to be able to do this, the sorting that they're doing. When we translate markup in this, okay, maybe something like this. So this, suppose it is a strong first and then say an href anchor tag with gmail anchor tag with href of something, might be string. I'm mixing and matching value types with like types. Sorry, values with types. So this is just for understanding. So we are saying that. Oh, okay. So a strong might have it children like this. That might be the problem. Children. But we call it subcontent. I don't know. Something like this. Maybe they're saying that they're able to see that is strong. The parsing and sorting. Now this seems to be a very like doing this piece of thing where I'm keeping the anchor. I think I'm thinking it wrong because um, I'm thinking it in terms of how HTML is written. That is not necessarily the way that a linear way of that the model will be translation of the DOM tree itself. I think that is where I'm struggling and going wrong. I need to think here. Maybe I'll think about it later. I'll just write it here as a to do. Needs to think what kind of data structure will enable sorting as mentioned here. I'll use an arrow and I will. Do I get a link for this for the highlight? I don't know. Okay, let's just try to have an image here. I will link back to black here. All right, and I'll think about it later. I keep coming back to it after saying I'll come back to it later. Yeah. Uh, if I need, I have no knowledge of data structures. What kind of data structure would be proficient for doing this type of sorting where there is a relationship between some kind of somebody copy pasted and put it in the Medium browser and sorry, Medium editor, and they are now pruning and things to make it equivalent to the model that they could use to render it as per they want to do or they should do. And there is, uh, if they were flat, uh, something like maybe this is a strong, and then there is an anchor tag. Now I need to be able to know what kind, how do they represent this kind of? I'm stuck in a loop. I think when we translate markup ranges into DOM nodes, hmm, we sort them by type A, then strong. We will never print a strong tag containing an anchor tag. We need to break it up so that the anchor tag contains strong tag. We need to break it up. Is that a good cue? Okay, I'll think about it. I, I should go ahead and first see. I'm starting getting distracted because something is not getting figured out. Medium edit operations. The medium body editor has exactly six edit operations. Okay. Uh, insert paragraph, remove paragraph. Update paragraph, insert section, remove section, and update section. Okay, wow. Okay. Three things for two different kind of entities. One is paragraphs, insert, remove, update, and insert, remove, update for section. They do just what they sound like. Mhm. The paragraph operation takes a paragraph model and an index. Hmm. Okay. The section takes a section model and an index. All the so these are the paragraph and section section operation takes a section and an index. I have not catered to any kind of index anywhere. Maybe this is not a list. Maybe it is a flat list of objects with index in there. So something like instead of having the content like this, it might be something like let me open my editor, which is a little easier to reason with. Light, zoom in, editor. These are my paragraphs, and my paragraphs can be paragraphs and random ID. Say paragraph one. Let's not write one, and it will have an index. Okay, this is the third paragraph. And in a similar fashion, maybe in its sub content, and this will be basically these types of semantic children kind of thing. Suppose we have, let's see, if this is a sentence. Suppose we have this sentence which is italics and bold. To keep it simple, let's keep it just italics and a full stop. How would this get shown here? This is a and white space. A text node of the type of text node with some random ID. I don't know why I'm giving this random ID here, but let's say its index would be one in this subcontent, um, and its text would be this, and I don't know, would where are we giving the I don't know, the index for like suppose if we would edit this, if I'm here somewhere and I hit a back button, an edit operation happened on a paragraph, or at least a sort of like a subnode of a paragraph. This is the paragraph. The edit operation happened on this. I need to figure out what kind of data structures make editing easy. Um, Linked list? I don't know what they are. Um, but I've heard fleetingly about them. I need to think about this. I think I'm stuck. I wouldn't be able to go ahead if I don't have knowledge of different data structures and their ability to be able to edit content in them. Anyway, let's go ahead. Um, all right. They do what they sound like. The paragraph operations take a paragraph one and the second one. All the possible edited contents can be expressed by a sequence of these operations. Okay, and it's usually trivial to construct such a sequence. This was the thing that we had talked about. Here. It's easy to see that the content is well behaved under these edit operations. They act directly on our model, not on the DOM. And the model makes it easy to tell when two things are visually equivalent. Okay, capturing edits. We still have a lot to go, and I'm a little tired speaking to myself. So let's sit down and keep on it. When you interact with the medium editor, we have to translate your key presses. Um, we have to translate your key presses and mouse clicks into a sequence of those six operations. Okay, this is the trickiest part. We don't want to keep around some huge list of every possible key sequence. It would be a crazy long list for English-speaking users, never mind for languages with non-Latin characters and keywords. The key insight is that we can enumerate all the ways to insert and remove paragraphs with normal content editable keyboard commands. They are carriage enter, enter control and etc., delete, type over, what is type over? Select and text and type. Acha, okay. Something like this. And then after selecting, we hit some keyboard. So it will start editing it from this character to this character after omitting this one and paste. So we capture, cancel, and manually translate those events into our internal editor operations. A mapping of these with the Kanga is what I think they're saying. Okay. It would be long. Okay. So we capture, cancel, and manually translate. Capture, cancel, and manually translate those keyboard events into our internal editor operations. For all other keyboard events, okay, it would be interesting. Just aside, the place where I'm struggling here, if I try to just see how other editors are doing it, say Prose Mirror, I would be able to get an idea. So I would not, might not need to, I might not need to think about it from scratch, like rummaging through different data structures that are edit friendly or are performant edit wise or something like that. Okay. I had started to feel a little bit dumb not knowing, not being able to figure out this, but I think this is a good self motivation to just read and figure out what other people have done. Uh, Easier said than done, but let's see. All right. Okay. Where were we? Somehow I'm liking this a lot. Um, the key insight is that we can enumerate time, blah, blah, blah. So we capture, cancel, and manually translate them. For all other keyboard events, we let the native container behavior kick in, sort of like a callback. For a most common grounds of operations that come in through keyboard and mouse, they have mapped it to their internal operations of the model. Rest, they let content editable do its thing. After the keyboard event finishes, we map the paragraph DOM back to the paragraph model. Okay, and compare the model to which we had before. Okay, something happened here. After keyboard event finishes, we map, after the keyboard event finishes, say and enter. We map the paragraph DOM back to paragraph model. I think this thing is happening after the edit. uh, they read the DOM, new DOM, they translate it to what the mapping should look like for that new particular paragraph that has happened, and compare the model to what we had before. So what we had before versus now what has happened because of this keystroke. Okay, if the DOM changed, if there is diff in the JSON model before and after, we create a new update paragraph op and flush it through the editor pipeline. Okay, through the editor pipeline, I don't know where that is. We flush it to the DOM, bringing the DOM and model back in sync. Okay, so when an enter has happened, the DOM has not updated yet, but we know how the DOM would look like. Is this? I think this is what it is being said. So we hit an enter, maybe an enter key, and then we know how DOM looks like, but it hasn't rendered yet because we haven't allowed uh, allowed it to. And then from here we make the from this representation of DOM, I think we make a new JSON model, JSON delta, and we diff these two models. Uh, we do a diff. Let's bring it back to black. And then whatever has changed here, we flush it out. We flush the change to the DOM. Flush change to DOM. Bringing the DOM and the model back in sync. Now this new JSON new is in sync with this DOM. Okay. Capturing edits quickly. If we had infinite computing power, applying these edit operations would be straightforward. We would apply them to the model, re-render the whole post, and be done with it. Okay. But in the real world, re-rendering the whole post on every key press would be too slow, of course, and you would see a lot of ugly flickering because iframes and images would be continuously reloading. Instead, we listen to changes to the model and try to make a minimal possible change. Okay, so this flush change also happens in a diff fashion. Diff fashion. Only something sort of like what React does internally automatically. They're doing this at the level of the editor. Okay. I wonder if they're passing on this flush of things, the change of things through React somehow. Do they? Uh, does Medium use React? I don't know. We were not using it before. Okay, I will not be able to see it here because I'm not logged in. Medium.com. That's right. I need to have Chrome DevTools React Backends installed, which I think they are not. Let's install them. Okay. Refresh this. Page doesn't. Okay, cannot use it here. That's interesting. So they have their own interesting. Okay, I just opened my like thing. Scared. Never mind. Sorry. Let's go ahead. Okay, so this test is something that they are doing, and the DOM flush, incremental DOM flush, they are themselves doing. Hmm. As I type this now, I can see Chrome spell checker red underline on the word key press. Sure. Okay. That's because Medium Editor is changing the whole paragraph at once rather than only changing a piece of the paragraph. If we made more narrow DOM change, the flicker would go away, but the code would be more complicated. Okay. changes happening at least at the level of the paragraph and not more fine-tuned than that. But what is the implication of that? That's because medium editor is changing the whole headline on the key press flicker. Okay, key press this is flickering because it, this the equivalent of this model representation of this paragraph uh, is getting re-evaluated after the edit and not maybe not a very fine-tuned diff is happening at the level of the text that is being changed maybe. That is what they're saying. If we made more narrow DOM change, the flicker would go away, but the code would be more complicated towards a bright text editor future. There have been some rumblings lately from Chromium contributors that they want to redo the container table on top of Polymer elements and Shadow DOM. The proposal wrestles with some of the high-level architecture issues that Medium editor tries to solve. Created an editor made out of sorry, custom polymer components elements. Define a mapping between the editor model and the real DOM with Shadow DOM. Basically, doing this thing, the browser doing this thing instead of us having to do it. All key presses in mouse in container would be translated into abstract edit intent, like uh, reducers in React and Redux will be expressed as a JSON object like edit intent is delete for this paragraph or this text, this paragraph with this index and the range of characters between this and this should be deleted. Polymer elements could define handlers for edit intent. These polymer elements could define handlers for edit intents. Okay, the medium editor got some sort of edit intent API, we would be able to throw away a lot of custom code for translating key presses into abstract edit operations. It would be interesting experiment to express our paragraph models as Polymer DOM shadow elements. Hmm. What content editable could be? Whenever I explain this to people who work on text editors, they sleight of hand. Call me on my sleight of hand here. The slide. Oh, okay. Cunningness of basically. Call me on my cunningness. Of course, medium editor is better than content editable. You cheated. Content editable tries to be general purpose specific HTML editor, and the medium editor drops the general purpose requirement. So we can pick and choose what HTML structure you want to handle. This is true, but it's misguided. A good visual editor is axiomatically inconsistent with a good general purpose HTML editor. Okay, it's possible to build what content editable wants to be because they have conflicting. It's impossible to build what content editable wants to be because they have conflicting requirements. Makes sense. Um, my thinking on this is influenced by a lot by Steve Yeage's The None Such Beast essay. Okay, more reading to do. Design and UX problems can be just as intractable as big O. What is intractable? Hard to control a little bit. Design effort can be as intractable as big O algorithmic problems. I highly agree. A good video editor of arbitrary HTML is just as impossible as the halting problem is impossible. I don't know what halting problem is. Okay. Content editable can be salvaged, but its mission must change. With richer DOM APIs like Shadow DOM, content editable could become a platform for building a new generation of editors on the web. But we have to treat it as an editor platform and API rather than standalone component that tries to do everything itself. CSS complicates this. Okay, footnote 2. Where was footnote 2? Here. Okay. CSS complicates this. I deeply understand that. What the footnote is about already. CSS complicates this discussion and complicates the editing algorithms the browser engineers have to implement. But it doesn't fundamentally change the proof of why content editor is terrible. Okay, that doesn't directly. The fact that the different HTML elements positioning can lead to the same visual. No, CSS complicates this discussion and complicates the editing algorithms that browser engines have to implement, engineers have to implement. Okay, but it doesn't fundamentally change the proof of why content editable is terrible. All right. Without loss of generality, we can ignore CSS and restrict our analysis to simple HTML. This was a very nice article on a lot of it. I think my next step would be to read three things. One is this: what is this Apple style gone thing? It happened in 2011 when I had just started college. And I never received again none such beast essay, and I should start reading a little bit of code of Prose Mirror, at least the code that caters to the model that it follows. Um, yeah, I think that is about it. Good first extreme, I would say. I have to do this more because I really need to learn and do something. I am thinking the next stream would be tomorrow, and I would do. I have had an idea. I will explain it in the next live stream itself, and try to build that tool. And while building the tool, also evaluate if that tool would be any good for us. Um, lots of interesting things to think about. Anyway, if any of you tuned in, thank you. This is mostly for me to focus for time being.